My next guest is one of the most prominent Catholic lawmakers in American history. Joining me now is the former Speaker of the House, now Democratic Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi. Thank you so much for being here. I just got to read your lengthy and really heartfelt statement that you and your husband Paul released on the death of Pope Francis. And I just want to say to our viewers, if they don't know, but I'm sure they do, you've always been so open and public and proud about your deep Catholic faith. What are your most important reflections of Pope Francis?
Well, it's so sad. It's heartbreaking for us to see him wish everyone happy Easter yesterday and then go on to heaven. Paul and I and our children have been with His Holiness a sum total of 4 times, sometime with some of the grandchildren, other time others, and then just on a long visit with him where he spoke about immigrants and refugees again and again, something that was very, such a high priority for him. So when he has left us now, I think of all the times that we met him, he would always say, pray for me. Whether it was leaving the Capitol or with my grandchildren, or whatever, he would say, pray for me. Excuse me. And we'd be like, well, no, you're the one who should be praying for us. No, pray for me. And now we will pray to him.
Be leaders ourselves.
Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for Black people.
They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me what act of dictatorship did he perform?
She had Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that.
Because she's a Black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Hello. It is Monday, and it's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett. And back with us tonight, because it's like every Monday night, is Tyrone Keys of Soldiers of Finance. How are you all doing tonight?
Doing great.
Wonderful.
Good. Excellent. Shelly E will be joining us momentarily, folks, so stand by. She is coming on a little later in the broadcast. But before we dive in, please do me a favor, tap that thumbs up and subscribe. But certainly hit the thumbs up. It really helps to get our broadcast out to a wider audience, and that's what we aim to do. Folks, we are on the road to 1 million subscribers, and we really need your help. You guys have gotten us this far, so we really need your help to push our videos and also get us out there to 1 million subscribers. That's the goal by the end of the year. All right, so you guys know we are on YouTube and Rumble. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out all of our super chats, so it's the best way to get your voice heard in the conversation and to show your love for conservative content. I see we have a birthday out there, Angela Cox. Happy birthday, Angela.
Happy birthday, Angela.
Yes, indeed. Happy birthday. And wishing you or praying your birthday this is the best year yet. All right. So again, folks, this is not just a podcast. As you can see, we are a family. We are a community. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, folks, let's set it off. So, as you saw at the top of the show, Pope Francis has passed today, and I want to start off by saying I pray that God be a comfort to all those that mourn the passing of Pope Francis. His death marks the end of an era and possibly the beginning of a spiritual reckoning for the Catholic Church. As global elites mourn a pontiff who embraced climate change activism, globalism, and interfaith pluralism, faithful believers are asking, will the next pope bring the church back to biblical truth or go into deeper progressivism? I want to get your thoughts on this. Now, I am not Catholic, but I know, Tyrone, you are. What are your thoughts on today?
Well, definitely unfortunate, not unforeseen. The Pope was up in age and did have some respiratory issues. And it's a process, you know, just like the rest of us. This existence is temporary. So now have to move forward. And it's not speaking out of school, but a lot of conservatives, particularly Americans, were less than satisfied with the direction of Pope Francis, extremely liberal. So there are some picks out there, some possibilities, who knows what will happen, that are conservative and would take the church back in that direction. Cardinal Sarah from Guinea is one of those individuals, and he has spoken out quite vociferously about, for example, the dangers of unbridled immigration and how that is changing the character of Europe and actually drastically decreasing the presence of Christianity. So if I had to, if it was up to me, which it is not, I would definitely like to see him as the next pope. The pendulum definitely needs to swing in the opposite direction.
All right. Nicole, how do you believe Pope Francis will be remembered, as a reformer or as a divider within the church?
I think he will likely be remembered by Catholics as a reformer. He brought a lot of very, from a Christian perspective, very liberal ideas to the forefront. But I think, the world will remember him as another holy man that has gone on to glory. It's called when someone who is a leader, a voice for so many people passes away, and everybody's heart just kind of goes out to the people, to the faithful of that particular religion. It's got to be very difficult. As Tyrone said, that he was sick for a while. I know he had pneumonia, he had some respiratory illness, and being up in age. And even with all of that, he was still very feisty, still, trying to deliver that Easter service so that his people would have peace and a sense of celebration during the High Holy Week. I just may his memory be a blessing to everyone who loved him.
All right. Yeah. So as you know, I'm not Catholic. I am Protestant, non-denominational. But I did have a question for you, Tyrone. When Nancy Pelosi just said that, how she was explaining how when she met the Pope, he would always say, please pray for me, please pray for me. But now that he has passed on, she said, we will pray to him. What does that mean? What they're praying to him? I didn't understand that. Oh, you're muted.
Nancy Pelosi is crazy. Catholics do ask saints to intercede, for them because they're in heaven. They're with God, but we do not pray to the saint. And as of this moment, Pope Francis is not a saint. It's just like, I used to ask my mother to pray for me all the time because my mother was a godly woman. So it's the same type of thing, but pray for me.
I see. Okay. I was like, how are you praying to him? I was confused on that. Okay.
Me too, KJ. I was like, maybe that's, because I'm not Catholic,
Okay. A lot of stuff with this. Some people within the conservative circles are talking about him being the first Jesuit pope. And some people are saying that because of that, since he came from the Jesuits, and he had such a radical agenda rooted in Jesuit activism and liberation theology, just like we've talked about a lot on here, how Marxists have infiltrated the church. some are saying that they infiltrated the Catholic faith as well. And this was sort of part of that, that they had infiltrated the Jesuits. And then with this enwrapped Marxist flavored ideology within the Catholic religion. Because again, he did repeatedly, Pope Francis, talk about elevated socialism, equity, environmentalism over traditional Catholic doctrine. So sort of globalism. In the same way, we know today, Charles Schwab has stepped down off the board of the WEF. So, I mean, do you think there's any correlation between the death of Pope Francis and him stepping down today? Are we seeing an end to this globalist Marxist agenda that we've seen, not just in the Catholic Church, but in a lot of faith leadership throughout the world?
Let me say something about that. Remember, the church has been around for 2,000 years. Right. And at one point was the de facto government, was a world power. So to suppose that there has been no Machiavellian intrigue in that time frame would be naive, I believe. So just like any other organization, human organization that has been here for quite some time, it's run by us humans. We're fallible, okay? And I have no evidence that there was cooperation between the WEF and the Vatican. However, a lot of what the Pope talked about seemed to be from the exact playbook of Klaus Schwab. What's the guy's name? Is it Klaus Schwab?
Yeah, Klaus Schwab. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say, yeah, that's accurate. Definitely. And one more quick word about Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, and it's the media, I get it. She should hardly be up there as a standard bearer for Catholicism because she does not believe in the tenets of the faith. And that is borne out by the legislation that she has advanced in the U.S. Congress.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned, Pope Francis gave moral cover to the Great Reset, calling for inclusive capitalism, pushing a Build Back Better agenda as Biden, Trudeau, and Schwab. He co-hosted events with Rockefeller Foundation, the Rothschilds, and the UN, praising global wealth redistribution. It was very aligned. So that's why some people are questioning, are we seeing the end, or is this the beginning? I don't know, of globalist strongholds like WEF and the Vatican fracturing under the pressure of rising populists. I mean, we do know that since President Trump has stopped all this USAID aid and other funding that was a huge part of many of these globalist initiatives, that money, that freeze on these types of money has kind of stopped their agenda somewhat. So I'm wondering if there's any correlation. We have Shelly. Shelly has joined us tonight. Hi, Shelly.
Hey, Shelly. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Shelly.
Yeah. So we're talking about the death of Pope Francis, and then just some of the things that he has done, and whether or not we are seeing an alignment or a fracturing, I should say, of the of his socialist agenda. What are your thoughts there?
May he rest in peace. Number one. Number two, I don't think this is the end of any globalist agenda by far. If anything, globalists with these agenda, with the Klaus Schwabs and the Soroses, all of these layers, if you will, in my never to be humble opinion, have been intertwined for so long, and they are so knit together, if you will, so tight intertwined that you can't really unravel it all. I don't think it's going to be an end. So his death is just a death, and their agenda has to continue. Keep in mind that in any, I guess, organization, any religion, any society, the goal, or at least one primary goal of that particular thing, is to always reproduce itself. Because if it goes away, then there's no need for it. it has to find a way to reproduce. So this globalist agenda will continue. Maybe the Pope and all of them were just one piece of it. But this is how these things are built and made to continue.
Yeah, I agree with Shelley that fabric is tight. It is tightly woven, and these beliefs for them are not just like, great ideas or policy points. This is a core tenet of who they are as people, right? So I think we're going to see more of it, unfortunately. Someone in the chat said we'll get a younger pope and the beatings will continue, so to speak. Absolutely. I think we will get a younger pope, and I think that globalist agenda will be even more in full effect. Kung Fu CJ.
Yeah, with the $5 super chat. Yes, thank you so much. He says the next pope will be much younger and will get worse. Yeah. We will see. Speaking of, as you mentioned, Nancy Pelosi, here she is again in that same clip talking to Dana Bash. And Dana asked her about being something that happened to her, I think, what is it called? Discommunioned or removed from communion.
Excommunicated.
This is clip 5. Take a look.
You received communion during a mass at St. Peter's Basilica in 2022, and that happened despite the fact that the archbishop of San Francisco said that you couldn't receive communion because of your support for abortion rights. What did it mean for you to receive communion that day during the papal mass?
Well, it was the feast of St. Peter and Paul, which in Rome is a holiday. It's a civic holiday, and so all faiths come together in the Vatican in St. Peter's. They placed us in the front row, and in the front row next to us was where His Holiness was seated.
So Tyrone, she wasn't denied communion in San Francisco, but the Pope gave her communion. Is that what that was?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, that is not surprising coming from that particular Pope, not supporting that San Francisco. I mean, if you can't get communion from a cardinal in San Francisco, okay. Right. But again, that's where you get into, just like we got a lot of generals and admirals who are politicians. This is, in my estimation, one of the problems with the church is it has, continued down this political road at the upper echelons. It's probably why my pick, Cardinal Sarah, is not going to be picked, because he's kind of the Trump of the Catholic Church. Okay. So yeah, it's just disgusting that she's front and center on this, being the lackluster. And look, nobody's perfect. I get it, but she actively and stridently opposes the teachings of the church. So I'm not sure why she doesn't just excommunicate herself. I'm surprised she didn't burst into flames while giving the interview.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, we have some super chatters here. Thank you guys so much. Dallas with the $5 super chat says, I see it differently. The last day for the Pope was great. It was Easter. He said bye to everyone and gave a final blessing. Now it's judgment time. All right. Thank you so much, Dallas. Gimpy shows the divide between the church in Rome versus USA. All right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, we're just commenting on this as pundits, political pundits. Again, I am not Catholic, but all I can do is look at this from a biblical perspective. And so I do see there were challenges to this Pope, that it does look like he was sort of anti-Bible in certain situations. But as I say with any and everyone, I pray for everyone that mourns his loss, and we move on from there. Any last word?
Yeah, KJ, a lot of people have mentioned the Jesuits. So for those who may not be Catholic, there are the Jesuits, the Franciscans, and the Dominicans. Those are the three orders within the Catholic Church. And people could, study that to the extent that they're interested.
All right. Absolutely. All right. Well, folks, we will continue to follow this. So now, for what I understand, they moved into the enclave, where they picked the next pope, I guess,
Right.
like 8 days after this passing. Is that right?
I'm not sure the time frame, but that's what they do.
Right.
Okay. All right. So we will know then before the end of May, I guess. Well, they said there's no time limit on them picking the next pope, but the longest I think they said took 34 either months or days, if I recall correctly. So, but they said it usually takes within about 5 days for them to pick the next pope. But they go into some type of seclusion, and they pick the pope. So, all right, we will. Yeah, I have here. Surfer Bob says the Jesuits have always been more liberal. The conclave will start 15 to 20 days after the Pope's death. Thank you, Surfer Bob. All right. Yes, indeed. All right, folks. So we will continue to follow that story. Please, if you're coming on just now, hit that like button. Make sure you hit the like button. It really helps to push our content out to the masses, and this is exactly what we want to do here on YouTube. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you found a community of like-minded, value-driven people here, please subscribe so you can stay up to date on the content that we push out, and we appreciate the support. All right, so moving right along here, want to change gears and talk about this Mahmoud v. Taylor Supreme Court case. So, folks, we are witnessing one of the most dangerous legal battles in modern American history. Mahmoud v. Taylor isn't just another court case, it's a line in the sand. At stake, whether public schools can keep secrets from parents and push radical gender ideology behind closed doors. If the Supreme Court sides with the school, your rights as a parent could be erased with the bang of a gavel. So what are we talking about? The Supreme Court will hear oral arguments on Tuesday, tomorrow, in the first of two cases in April involving religion in public schools. This case, Mahmoud v. Taylor, is about a coalition of parents from Montgomery County, Maryland, right here in Maryland, contend that requiring their children to participate in instruction that includes LGBTQ+ themes violates their religious beliefs and thus their First Amendment right to freely exercise their religion. So the court announced in 2023 it would not allow parents to opt out. They cannot opt out their children from or excused from instruction involving this type of curriculum, this type of material. And guess what? It's not just Christians or Protestants pushing back. It's Muslims, Catholics, and Ukrainian Orthodox parents who are bringing this case to court. So I was recently on PBS of all places, and we had a debate or discussion about this case. Take a look at this. This is clip 2. I'm sorry.
Because
go ahead.
Because I want to see my tax dollars going to really teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. We have fallen to 40th among the industrialized nations from when the Department of Education was open, when we were, in the top 5 or 10. We're now 40th. That's ridiculous. I want my tax money going to make these kids competent to be able to have full and productive lives by having the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic.
How does your president, he's trying to cut trillions, if not billions, out of the budget, including he would prefer to shut down the Department of Education.
He's trying to transfer it to the state level. He's trying to transfer it so that the people at the state level have more control over what's taught in their schools all the way down to the local level.
And when Jim Crow laws came along, everybody said, oh, it's just harmless. And it was really meant to keep discrimination going.
But A, we've grown past that. B, you have a lot more ways to fight it. in today's world. You can't get away with stuff like that with social media and alternative media that's out there. That would never happen again, I believe. But again, the basics are not being taught. Our children are not competent to compete in the world. That
disingenuous that they're to say, oh, we support education, and the problem that we're having with our education, reading, writing, arithmetic, is because we are talking about when your neighbor looks different from you, or if kids have questions about that a teacher can actually respond. And I think it's disingenuous because then we slash funding, we slash programs, we don't pay our teachers, and we go, oh, I wonder, what the problem is here when we don't fund our educational system at the correct level that we should be supporting.
But this is more than talking about being empathetic and teaching kids about being kind and respectful. We're talking about gender theory. We're talking about intersectionality. We're talking about books that talk about boys kissing boys and transgenderism and things like this. This goes well beyond respect and empathy. And this should not be in the classroom. It's Marxism. The whole Democrat Party has been infiltrated by Marxism to the point where in Colorado now, we have them trying, I think it actually passed an act which would classify parental misgendering of a child as coercive control. This is where we're going. And this is why the country chose and elected President Trump, because we see that the left, the Democrat Party, has gone way too far. We have to put a stop to this. All right. So you guys saw their looks.
Good job, AJ. Good job.
Thank you, Nicole. You saw her face when I said Marxist, the Democrat Party has been infiltrated by Marxists. She was like, oh. And did you see the host when she said, your president? I was like, wow. So what did you think about that exchange, Nicole, and what they're talking about with this case?
Well, I watched the whole thing, and I will say this: it's one thing to be on the podcast where there are other conservative voices, even if they're not as conservative as you are. It's a whole nother thing to go into the mouth of the lion. It's a whole other thing because they do kind of nip at your heels. Your president, well, he's her president too. She's an American citizen, and then they're talking about the slashing of the budget, slashing in Maryland. There's no slashing. In fact, teachers are getting more money now than they've ever gotten. The blueprint has basically ensured that I think second, third year teachers are going to make $90,000 a year. Wow. So there's no slashing of the budget going on here. These are Democrat talking points, and kudos to you for calling it out. But to this case, a couple of quick points. One, we're talking about elementary school kids. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about high schoolers. We're not talking about older middle schoolers. We're talking about K through 5, and them telling your first grader, your second grader, all about transgenderism. If you don't see this as the uber left, the super liberals trying to normalize perversion, I don't know what you're looking for. The parents have a very strong argument saying that this is an infringement upon their religious liberty. So it's not just Christians, it's not just Muslims. Almost everybody has a dog in this fight, with the exception of some of the most liberal people you ever want to meet that live here in Maryland. Mm-hmm. And they're willing to throw their one child, because most of them only have one, their one child to the wolves, because, it's popular to have a transgender child now. It's the new, puppy in the bag. You guys remember that when everybody got the small teacup puppies carried around in the bag? Now they're dressing their boys up like girls, and their girls are getting their breasts lopped off and wondering what's going to happen later. It is unconscionable. And I cannot wait to hear what the Supreme Court is going to say about this.
Yeah, same here. Shelley, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, excuse me, number one, the Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or respecting the religion or prohibiting the exercise thereof. That's the First Amendment. That's number one. So beyond the religious or the religions that are being represented in this case, this is a First Amendment right, as far as I can see it, in my never to be humble opinion. I'm not a Supreme Court justice. I'm not an attorney, no less. But nevertheless, the Bill of Rights, our Constitution is there. Any, 8th, 7th, 8th grader can read it. That's what it means. So when they are prohibiting parents from removing children, I don't even understand how that works. But nevertheless, that's what they're doing, from even removing children. My biggest point, even above that, or at least equal with that, is I don't get why these parents are allowing it or are taking it. Take your children out. They are yours. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. I don't care what the Maryland court says. Take them out of the classroom. Why do you need permission from anybody to do that?
Yeah. Tyrone, what are your thoughts there?
Well, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, come out from among them. You will not go to motor vehicle. I don't care what state it's in. You will not tomorrow go to the Motor Vehicle Administration and tell them how to run the place. Okay. You won't go into the Pentagon and tell them how to run any branch of the military. So, knowing that, all right, why would you place your most precious child in a situation that you've already admitted by your protest is antithetical to what you would have them, learn and adopt as ideologies and philosophies, especially when they're young and impressionable? Okay. Now, Nicole made a good point. And people can debate this, and there's ongoing debate about this, but Sigmund Freud said that by the time you're 8 years old, you're pretty much who you're going to be. Okay. So that really indicates how formative those early years are. Okay. These educators know that. That's why they want to get them early. Come out from among them. People will say, well, I got to work and I can't afford it. It is 2025. My mother, who never made more than $15,000 a year, homeschooled me. All right. There are resources. She did the legwork. She found the resources. She made it happen. I don't see what the big deal is. I really don't. And I don't have kids. And people will say, well, you don't have kids. No, I don't. And I'm not a helicopter pilot either. But if I see one upside down in a nosedive, I figure something's going on.
It's trouble.
Right. You know what I mean? So people, you got to stop complaining and just opt out. All
so
right?
let me say this, and I want to get your opinion on this, Nicole. So yes, we have said this. All of us have said this. Take your kids out of public schools. But just to push back a little bit to provide some opposition. Isn't that running away? Isn't that because we're still paying for these schools, the government schools, the public schools, out of our tax dollars? Why should we have to pay for government schools to indoctrinate any child? Why shouldn't we be pushing more so for them to remove this out of the curriculum? The lady that I was on the panel with, Ann Stone, she was another conservative, and I love her. I want to get her on the show too. But she brought up a good point. She was like, we should be focused on reading, writing, and arithmetic, and maybe history. Not this. If they want this stuff in school, it should be an elective. It should not be mandatory teaching, and especially to kindergartners. So shouldn't we be pushing to get it out of schools? Not saying, which I agree with, take your kids out.
I think we can do both. But
exactly.
I think we have to understand, Tyrone made a good point about the formative years. And there are some theories that say it's the years, by 8 it's formed. You're right, Tyrone. Mm-hmm. But there's different theories that talk about the different milestones and ages of children, how they develop. That's number one. Number two, you can do both. But we also have to realize that during those younger years, particularly younger years, two things are going on at once. You can fight all you want, but you're still putting your child in the dangerous zone where you don't have the control, if you will, to guide and direct their most formative time to get the foundations in place. Someone mentioned in the comments about personality being set at 18. No, that's not true, dear. Personalities are set way before then, in human beings, period. They might come out more in their teenage years, but 9 times out of 10, most mothers know the personality of their child when they're born. Again, from the time they're born, certainly about 8 years old. So you can do both. We can fight. We should fight for these theories, or these teachings should be out of the classroom, or at least an elective. But your child is the one who's going to bear the brunt of the consequences and the dangers during those times.
Right. Your child, as you fight, your child is steadily matriculating through a system that you have identified as poisonous. Your child, while you're fighting, is spending more waking hours with an evil system than they are with you. Okay. So it's not running away at all. You're fine. Taxes are compulsory. I got to pay them, fine. But I don't have to participate in something that I have identified as wrong. And I certainly don't have to subject my child to that.
Yeah, I believe a lot of the parents involved in the lawsuit have already removed their children. What they're suing for is to compel the school system to stop doing this so they can send their kids back to the public school. The question, though, a very interesting question, is what is the purpose of public schooling? It is to make workers, right? So what is the big push to have these workers so comfortable to normalize transgenderism and homosexuality? When you're in the workplace, does it even matter if the person next to you who's doing whatever their job is gay, transgender? It really doesn't matter. So then it makes me think, what are they really wanting to do with these children? What is the end game of this whole thing?
It's what I said. What had the ladies' mouths hanging open. It's Marxism.
Absolutely.
We know that Marxism views the family not as a social good, but as a political enemy. So your parental rights stand in the way of their revolution. As you mentioned, Nicole, they're trying to make us all cogs in the system. And so what is the best way to do that? Get them while they're young and indoctrinate them, make them these cogs, because the family fights against the outside world. You know, if the family is supposed to be the first unit of structure that our children see, and we are supposed to mold and frame them. And so if they can get rid of that and the state becomes the family, then they have almost like little robots. They want us like China, where they
have minions.
Manipulate. Right.
They have millions and millions of minions who only understand their worldview. And I think that in itself is the end game. I mean, it started a long time ago, but one of the things I think is really compelling is when you ask them what the end game is, they call you names. That's when you're Uncle Tom. That's when you're Oreo. I mean, like, they got some very inventive names, right? So they call you names because they don't want to say the quiet part out loud. You know, I'm not a big advocate of, playing games with school funding and money and that kind of thing. But, sign your kid up for public school, then snatch them out right before they get the payment. That's a little slap in the face for them so that they're not getting quite as much money as they thought they were. And get yourself a nice co-op. There are lots of ways to educate your children. And here in Southern Maryland, we have some very, very good co-ops. They have charter schools. They have all these other alternative ways of raising your children. And if you can, like Tyrone said, if you can find it in your heart, not necessarily in your pocketbook, homeschool your children.
Yeah. I want to recommend, we talk about Marxism on here a lot, and we mentioned this, and I want to recommend another book. And this book is, I'm going to say old. I've read it. It came out in 1990. I still have my copy. It's buried in my attic, but it's called 7 Men Who Rule the World from the Grave. One of them is Marx. They have Kierkegaard. There's a couple of other people in there. I think John Dewey. And I'm mentioning this book because these men, they rule the world, and the book really talks about in an academic sense, or how these theories have filtered down through society, from particularly academics, but certainly science, politics, things like that. And it's not a big book. It's a really easy read. So I'm going to recommend it to you all. We've mentioned other books. It's called 7 Men Who Rule the World from the Grave. And so when we talk about Marxism, you can, if you have that book, I think you will better see why we say this and how these other theories have infiltrated into academia even today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'd like to make college. Yeah.
Quick suggestion as well, to understand how insidious this transgender push toward children is. Sit down and study the process of converting, okay, or transitioning, I guess you would say. Sit down and really understand the medical and surgical aspect of it, as well as the lifelong requirement for medical attention. Okay, it's barbarism. It is. There used to be a time in this country where we railed against sexual mutilation of young girls. Okay, and now we champion that. Mm-hmm. And we are actually, and you got to sit down and study this, we are saddling children with lifelong, real deal physical and mental trauma. You look into that surgery, and it is absolutely barbaric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I can attest to that, not personally, thankfully, but I can attest to that. I have seen people literally who have been mutilated with their bodies being changed. In this one case, it was a male going to a female. It's horrific. It is horrific. It's one thing to see people, it's not such a good thing, a good sight, if you will, to see people who have necessary surgeries, right, and their bodies, and their parts of their body have to be cut off for, life-saving therapeutic reasons. You don't even, that you have to kind of stomach that. But when you see something as horrific, it's mangled, it's Frankensteinish, if you will. It's horrific. It really is. It not only makes you angry, because when you see the people who these surgeries have been done to, many of them, at least the ones that I've seen, many of them are really living in this delusion. Mm-hmm. So outside of their delusion, in my never to be humble opinion, the medical and psychiatric community, they have taken advantage of them.
Right. Yeah, it's like,
agreed.
Only thing I could, sometimes, you get your hair done and you bring the photo how you want it, and they don't turn you around in the chair until the very end. And you have the photo, and they've been looking at the photo, and then you see the end result, and you're like, this is crazy. Like, this isn't what I asked for. I don't understand how these doctors, these surgeons, do this to these people.
But see, you can let your hair grow out and you can go fix that.
Right.
This stuff is irreversible. Okay. And you are putting this, you being these monsters that are, advancing this, are putting this on children. And we all remember when we were kids, we wanted to be a million things before we were 10. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're putting this on, and when it comes to criminality, they'll tell you, oh, well, their brainstem isn't fully formed. Okay, mm-hmm. They can't be relied upon to make, certain decisions. But then they'll tell you, oh, let's let them vote, and let's let them have life-altering surgeries at 15. Okay, and they got another 7 years to be here.
Well, the thing is not only life-altering, it's forever, ever. So even if you get to, like Chloe Cole, if you get to a part of your life where you say, man, I made a horrible, horrible mistake, I want to detransition, you do get stuck in the gray, right? Because you can never get certain body parts back once they've been removed. They can fashion some things, but you're never going to be the way, hear my heartness, I'm not trying to be cruel, but the way God intended for you to be, right? And then there's the medication. The medication regimen is for the rest of your life. So there's never going to be a period of your life where you're not taking something to alter something in your body. Now, American medicine is wonderful. Make no mistake. I do it every day. Absolutely love what I do for a living. Would I risk my life on it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. These are people who are going to have to maintain very good health insurance. I'm not talking Medicaid. You're going to have to go out and get you like some of that platinum Blue Cross Blue Shield at $1,215 a month. You have to go out and get some of that so that you can get the best drugs to give you the most mediocre outcome for the rest of your days.
That's right. Because nature is trying to reassert itself.
Right. It's trying to take it back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have some super chatters here, folks. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you. Kung Fu CJ says, Tyrone, you forgot the Knights of Columbus. Okay. All right. Soldiers of Finance says, hey, Kung Fu CJ, hope all is well. Knights of Columbus is a Catholic fraternal organization open to all Catholic men. It's not an order, though. All right. All right. Thank you so much, Tyrone. He says, KJ, I felt the passion in you. I know. After I watched it back, I was like, woo, I was a little.
You did a great job, KJ. You did a great job.
Thank you, Nicole. All right. Josh Winston with a $10 super chat says, I'm a white gay guy in my 40s, and I can tell you there is a big time resentment going on amongst regular gay men who feel the trans activists are fake and have tried to hijack our community. Yes, Josh.
Very true.
Yep.
They have, Josh. They've hijacked your community. They hijack, if you will, the Black community, and like you said, just regular gay. They have hijacked because they are not. They are living in a delusion. They're living in a fake world. They have to make their fake world somehow connected to reality in order to get the legitimacy that they're looking for. But it's not the case. And I want to say this. I don't know. I'm going to say it's the first time. It may not be, but for the first time, at least in modern medicine, particularly in the United States history, our medical system are purposefully inducing illness and injury instead of treating it. They are purposefully inducing it on patients and making them sick and morbid, if you will.
That's right.
Mortality for their lifetime. That's the part, Shelley, like that part of the Hippocratic Oath that says do no harm. Yes. They kind of put a line through that and said, well, we're not going to pay attention to this part, because once that surgery is done, let's say everything comes out great. The best case scenario, right? There's no cracks in the cake. Everything's beautiful. You're still going to need to be on hormones for the rest of your life, right? So there's so much more to this than this is the new designer chic for the uber wealthy and that kind of thing. When you start to play with these chemicals in kids' minds when they're still developing, it gets to a point where they really do lose themselves. And if they wake up, and some of them do, and they want to quote unquote transition back, it's never going to be the same. And how as a parent do you make that right for your child?
Right. And if a child goes in and says, I want a nose job, all right, that's not, no, you got to wait. And if a child goes in and says, I want liposuction, all right, but a child can say, hey, I want to do this. And Nicole, earlier you said it's the new dog in the bag thing. Mm-hmm. And they also had the black kid from Africa thing.
I remember that. They were adopting all African children.
Charlize Theron, Madonna. These are wicked people that are hijacking. You remember when you were a kid? My grandmother used to always say, don't rush growing up. Just be a kid, enjoy yourself. It's a limited time thing. And she was right. You look back on your childhood, it was ideal, thank God, right?
Well, you're not paranoid. You're not paranoid. We're not paranoid. We're paying attention. You all are paying attention. The family is the final firewall between, or I should say firewall, between the individual and the state. And the left has always wanted to burn it down. Marx lit the match. Today's gender activists are fanning the flames. If you agree with this, hit that like button and subscribe, because we have been calling this stuff out for a very long time. Please share this broadcast, send it in a DM, share it on your social media timeline. It's time for all of us to stand up. Again, this case is being brought, it's in the Supreme Court, and set to start tomorrow. So we will keep you all up to date on what happens next. All right. So moving right along, speaking of nuts, we're talking about Jasmine Crockett. So take a look at this clip where she starts crying to the point where she can barely speak during this interview with MSNBC's Katie Fang. This is clip 7.
Here at the airport, I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador. The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring Abrego Garcia.
He said he was not able to make that happen. Said, I'm not interested at this moment in taking a tour of CCOT. I just want to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. Trump administration is lying about Abrego Garcia.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
But here's the reality. As far as I'm concerned, he's a lot less criminal than the person that's sitting in the White House. Because last time I checked, he doesn't have any criminal convictions. I don't even think he has any outstanding cases versus the guy that still had cases pending when he was sworn in on January 20th and also has 34 felony convictions. So listen, I don't want to hear anything from the Republican Party about how they're trying to keep us safe when their fearless leader is actually the biggest criminal thus far that we have seen, because I haven't seen anybody with a rap sheet that looks like the president's.
So I want to exercise a point of personal privilege right now. I'm going to play a really quick clip for you, Congresswoman, and ask you a question on the other side. Take a watch and listen. My next guest. Joining me now is Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett. Representative, so happy to have you here. I know you had a busy day yesterday. Well, Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett, thank you for being here, and thanks for all of your advocacy. We appreciate it. Okay, that was you and I 3 years ago. That was your first time on the Katie Fang Show. This is the second to the last episode of the show. Congresswoman, I wanted to thank you for always getting up and early and delivering it, but I also want to say thank you for your continuing support for democracy. It's definitely something that you have made your brand, and it's the integrity that you're bringing, and I'm grateful for you always.
We'll miss you.
Oh. You can't have me crying at the beginning of a show, Jasmine. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, you haven't seen the last of me. Thank you for being here and getting us started today. I always appreciate you. Thank you. Gosh.
I hope it's the last of you. First of all,
trying to work up a tear.
I know. She's saying President Trump is a bigger criminal than MS-13 gang members in Trinidad or Aragua. Shelley?
Look, first of all, okay, let me show you. What is this? Can anybody see this?
Mm-hmm.
This is a fake $1 million bill. That's exactly what that interview was. Fake. It was so manufactured. Katie Fang, first of all, she ignored her rant. She was so quick to get to her own presentation about her leaving or whatever her show is going on. Good. That was so fake. That tear could not have been more fake. I don't even know another word. It was so manufactured and worked out. She knows she's going to keep riding this President Trump as a felon. She's going to ride it to nowhere because he's in the office. He's in the White House, and we still have control of Congress and the Senate. And you don't, Jasmine. Your fake eyelashes, your fake hair, that fake tear. I mean, you notice it was only like right here. You know, I mean, I think she was trying to squeeze it out. You know, like the mother used to say, you're trying to squeeze out tears. It was so fake. I can't with them. I can't. I'm sick of her. I'm glad I don't even watch Katie Fang's show, but from the looks of this one, I'm glad I don't.
Yeah. Nicole, what are your thoughts on that exchange?
Well, I thought it was interesting that she said that she could, she could see, and she clearly couldn't because that one lash was hanging down on top of her lower lashes, and she was doing her best to get it up. So I don't think that tear that was coming was out of emotion. It was the tear from the glue getting into her eye and giving her some irritation. Listen, good riddance to all of them folks over at MSNBC. She's probably coming to YouTube, but the rest of us, this is why people need to focus in on conservative media. Give us your watches, your views, your subscriptions. Do everything you can to protect us from them, because Katie ain't coming broke. Katie's coming with all of that MSNBC money right immediately. Beautiful production, although our production team is the best, but she's going to have top-notch everything because she's not coming by herself. MSNBC is just moving from one platform to another. They're just moving their talent from your small TV to your computer screen. So this is not, goodbye, Katie Fang. That's why she said, oh, you'll see me again. And Jasmine Crockett trying to work up a tear for whatever reason. I don't even, at this point, I don't think she's resonating with the people that she resonated with when she first started this foolishness, because now all of them are cursing. All the Democrats are dropping F-bombs. They're calling people names. It's gotten so bad that their approval rating has sunk so low. I don't know if they'll ever recover. I just don't know.
Yeah. Tyrone, what are your thoughts on that exchange?
Well, I think Trump should immediately slap a 10,000% tariff on fake eyelashes. Maybe that would stop her for the time being, at least. Jasmine Crockett, she's nauseating. Okay, she's revolting. She's disgusting. And enjoy her little dancing monkey routine.
Don't call her a monk.
Because she's going the way of Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. Okay, this is what the Democrat Party, they'll use them up. All right, they'll get them to act, like the minstrels the Democrat Party likes to see blacks as, and get them to do some performance art, and then kick them out in favor of something new. This is why Ocasio-Cortez has lasted as long as she has, because she understands that there has to be some sort of moderation. Okay. Understand the squad, that really isn't a thing anymore. It's AOC. All right. Bowman, Bush, gone. Presley, she's off doing her own thing. The other one, the one that married her brother, where's she?
Oh, Ilhan Omar.
Right. And what about the other one, the really crazy one?
Ayanna Presley.
No, not Presley, but the woman from the Middle East.
Ilhan Omar.
No, I know you're talking.
Rashida
Tlaib. Right. So that squad thing is over with. They've used that trope. It's done. And pretty soon you're going to see what could have been one of these elite liberals. Okay. Because you can go from you can come in there as an elite liberal, but they don't like to see you then go to ghetto liberal. Okay. Rabble rouser liberal. You don't see that transition take place. So they're going to use her. people are going to get tired of the shtick, and she's going to stop grinding her little organ, and she's going to be gone. So enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, let me ask you this, because have you guys noticed that a lot of these, it's gotten so bad on the Democrat side that many of the women are starting to look trans. So they have become so outlandish with the hair and the lashes and the makeup and stuff. They start to look, you have to really look closely to make sure it's a woman. Because they're almost trying to look like a man trying to look like a woman. Do you guys see that at all?
I think it's a thing with femininity. And I don't think that their goal is to come across as feminine. I don't think that they see strength in femininity. I think that they only see strength, as they say, in the masculine energy. You know, you hear people say this all the time. I'm in my soft girl energy. Like, what does that mean? Were you in a hard girl energy earlier? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But I think for them, cursing, raising all kind of foolishness in the halls of Congress and very masculine clothing. When you see that, they've got these big shoulder pads and these big black jackets and all of that. I think they're trying to look imposing. I think that they're trying to look like they're strong enough to strike a blow, but it's fallen flat with the American public in a way that I don't even think their pundits thought could happen. You talk about AOC, there's a lot that's coming out about her now that she's on tour with Bernie and they're catching private jets all over the United States to fight the oligarch. I mean, imagine that, right? Two people who wouldn't fly Southwest if their lives depended on it. You want to impress me? You a man of the people, Bernie, get off the private jet. Get you a Greyhound. That's right. Peter Pan bus. Get on the bus and ride with the people. Right, a mega bus. Ride with the folks, right? Get on that subway train that none of you will ride.
Right.
Okay, what are you talking about in particular? I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm talking about AOC.
No, so, KJ was talking about looking like the trend. Who are you talking about in specific? I mean, anybody specific?
I'm talking about Jasmine Crockett. I'm talking about even like as you see the transition of Maxine Waters, Ayanna Pressley. Even Kamala Harris, like you mentioned. When she decided to run. Now all she wears are the suits. They can't wear dresses. Like they have to wear suits all the time, pantsuits. I don't understand why that is.
I don't think. I don't think that has anything to do with them trying to look like trans. I don't think. Well,
when I say trans, I'm not necessarily talking like men. I'm talking about this look of overdone, excessive. With the lashes and the hair and the nails and things, generally speaking, it looks like a man trying to look like a woman.
I don't know if I agree with that, but as far as like many people over the years, decades, we're talking about the women when they wear the pantsuit, at least in American politics. Now, other politicians across the world, they may wear skirts or whatever, more or less. American politics, most of the women, number one, wearing the pants, it's probably what's the word? Practical.
Conservative women have not. When
politics,
you saw
it's probably practical, right? I'm just saying on an average day-to-day work basis, it's practical. When you're moving around, walking around, it's easier to do it on average with pants on and a jacket than with a skirt and a dress and heels, things like that. I'm not saying they don't ever wear heels. That's one thing. Number two, there is this power play look, if you will, that is presented with the pantsuit. I'm not saying that they have to. I'm just saying these are some of the social commentary about it that's been over the years. They are typically they are in more of a man's world, if you will. Men have occupied those positions much more so than women. So now they are basically, quote unquote, dressing like the men, more or less. So again,
it's a Marxist. It's a move towards androgyny, is what it is.
Are you saying that women should never wear pants?
I didn't say that, but they intentionally only wear pants.
And I think what you're perceiving is less of a look and more of an attitude that they're exuding.
It's both.
You take Shirley Chisholm, Barbara Jordan, Condoleezza Rice. All three very secure in their femininity.
Right.
Okay. All three strong statesmen that rank up there with, the best of them. Tip O'Neill, whoever else you want to throw at it. Okay.
Condoleezza Rice wore skirts and dresses as well.
Absolutely.
She did not wear pants like Kamala Harris, like Jasmine Crockett. All of them, if you notice, AOC, they go out of their way to wear pants. Hillary Clinton did the same thing.
Yeah, but even
pants
even with that, a woman who is secure in her femininity, she can wear a pantsuit and still exude femininity.
This isn't insecure. This is not being secure and feminine. This is an intentional caricature of a look.
I would say it goes back to the fact that they would prefer to exude masculinity.
Exactly.
Okay. They're not secure in being able to convey strength via their femininity.
Exactly.
And, Cleopatra was doing that 3,000 years ago. Okay. These women today don't know how to do it. You see it in media. You see it in the movies, right?
Exactly.
Ripley, the character in the Aliens franchise.
It's Sigourney Weaver.
As hard as she was in those, and as effective as she was in those first two movies, she was still feminine.
Yeah.
Okay. And it worked. It was believable. Now you get a 90-pound woman on screen, and she's got to ridicule the men, and then she will beat a 700-pound alien in hand-to-hand combat. Okay, this is what they're trying to exude, and it's laughable. It's false. That's why you feel, the inauthenticity.
It's very inauthentic. Even Michelle Obama. Now, when Michelle Obama and Barack Obama first entered office, she wore the dresses. She was very feminine. Now she's wearing pantsuits all the time. She's I know you guys see this. Michelle Obama has gotten much more masculine than she was as first lady in the White House. Now she looks very masculine. It's almost to the point where Barack is looking more feminine and she's looking more masculine these days.
So I agree with Tyrone, it's more of an attitude.
It's an intentional move to androgyny. I know women that prefer pants. They're just people that prefer pants. It's just comfortable for them. They don't like wearing dresses. Okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about an intentional, purposeful wet look that these leftist women are pushing and doing. They're anti-dress, anti-skirt, anti-heels, and they're trying to push this, I'm a man, I can do it better than you can with, this look. And then when you got on the other end, they're going towards where they're looking like a man trying to look like a woman. It's sick to me. It's sick. It's weird. It's very weird. But this is what I was talking about. I just want to see if anybody saw it. I see you guys going off in the comments. Michelle is hard look for me. All right, Trey's chocolate chitty. Allie, I'm at Wendy. Who Michelle? I agree. I think it is. Something's going on. They're doing this purposely. It's not just something they were looking to do. They're pushing a narrative. Kung Fu CJ says, "Are we talking about Big Mike?" Thank you, Kung Fu CJ, with the $2 super chat. All right. So I also want to touch on something because Jasmine Crockett was talking about the illegal immigration and the things going on with President Trump's deportations. Before we move on, we have another super chat here. Chadwick with the $10 super chat says, but I don't think a lot of people understand is that masculinity and femininity are traits that are instilled to you as a child. It's an energy that is portrayed, not a look. It is very much so energy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, feminine energy. Yes, I agree there. Carla with the $5 super chat. I am late to the party. Always look forward to Monday nights for Poppin' Politics. Thank you, Carla. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Make sure you guys coming in, hit that like button. We need the likes. It helps to push our video out to a larger viewership, larger audience. So please, it helps when you do that. Hit the like button. All right. So want to get into these deportations. So over the weekend, the U.S. Supreme Court issued an injunction ordering the Trump administration to halt the deportation of a group of alleged Venezuelan gang members. The emergency ruling temporarily prevented the deportation of Venezuelan migrants from the Bluebonnet Detention Center in Texas under the Alien Enemies Act. President Trump invoked the use of the 1798 Alien Enemies Act last month, which granted him the ability to detain or deport foreigners in times of war. The justices in this last-minute order directed the administration not to remove Venezuelans held in the detention center until further order of this court. Nicole, I want to start off with you. What's going on with the Supreme Court now?
Well, they're judges, right? And so for some people, they continually call this a constitutional crisis. Which branch of government has final say over foreign policy, deportations? So there are immigration judges, and those judges get to say, you can stay, you go, can stay for this long. They all have a little part to play in that long chain of immigration laws, rules, and regulations. So what the Supreme Court actually said is, wait, give us a minute to try to figure this out. Don't move anybody, but let us figure it out. The two dissenting judges, of course, are the reddest judges, the most red pill judges, said, no. Get them on out of here. The law says that they can go, get them on out of here. But what I think will happen is, as everybody in the world is trying to catch their breath with this Trump administration, because remember, guys, we're not even anywhere near, 200 days into this administration. We're not. It seems like it's been 3 or 4 years, just as quickly as things have happened, and people are trying to catch their breath. We don't want anyone to come back and say, I didn't have due process. Now, due process looks different when you're here illegally than it does if you are someone who holds a green card. You have a green card, you got a few little rights, not as many as a citizen, but you have some rights, right? The problem that they're going to have is if you're a criminal person, if you belong to one of these gangs that are now, Donald Trump has said, are a terrorist organization, green card or no, you got to go. He's standing on that. Now, it's an old law. Don't get me wrong, a very old law, but it is law. So what we're going to have to figure out is if the Supreme Court is going to stand on the law that's already on the book, or are we going to make some new law? I hope we don't make any new law. I hope we stand on the law that's on the book. These are criminal alien gangs, and they have to go. They have to go. The good news is they didn't say set them free. They said just hold what you have until we make a better decision. Lots of people complaining about the last minuteness, the shady kind of information that wasn't necessarily absolutely true that was in the brief, but we'll see how that plays out a little bit later on.
Yeah. Tyrone, so there's been some kind of back and forth on this stuff. So the Free Press, they asked, I think it was like 7 legal experts about the Trump administration's actions. And many of them are saying that he's stretching the limits of executive powers. Mm-hmm. They're arguing that, they are not implementing due process to these illegals. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, that's why they call it the practice of law, because there are no absolutes here. And I can find 6 people to say one thing, 6 people to say the exact opposite. At the end of the day, what I believe needs to happen, and I do agree with Nicole, that we need to rely on the laws that are on the books. They're laws that address all of this, okay? And the other thing is, I think that the White House really needs to put it into a higher gear. These are co-equal branches of government that are designed to vie for power. So I'm not going to sit around while judges who have no authority over foreign policy are allowed to, scuttle this agenda. These people came here illegally. All right. The administration has been doing a good job of getting out the criminal, especially these violent criminal elements. And yeah, some people who didn't commit violent crimes are going to, because they committed the initial crime of coming over the border legally. This country does not have an immigration problem. We bring in just over 1 million people annually. We are, as far as the nations of the world, we bring in the most immigrants. We bring in so many, we're hurting the countries we're brain draining these countries. Okay. So if you want to come in here, plenty of people do it legally every year. But this stuff won't be tolerated. Trump needs to push back harder on the judiciary, and at some point needs to follow in the footsteps of Andrew Jackson and Joe Biden and say, okay, enforce it. They don't have an army. They don't have, the vast executive branch. All right. So it's not a constitutional crisis. Okay. Presidents in the past have said, enforce it. You want it that way, enforce it. And until you do, I'm going to do this. Look, if it comes out your way, ultimately, we'll see if we can find a forwarding address for them and tell them to come on back in. Until then, they're out of here.
Agreed.
Yeah, Shelley, I think what we have here happening here is we all agree that the Biden administration had open borders and let in millions of illegals. Now the President Trump, as we put him in office to do, is trying to get them out. And he won't be able to get them all out in 4 years. It's not even possible. But he's trying to get them out. The question is, and I don't think many of us on this panel really care, but is it legal the way he's doing it? Now, this is what the question is. Is he doing it legally? What are your thoughts there, Shelley?
My thought is that he is, number one, he is the president. He's in charge of the executive branch. He has control, if you will, over foreign policy. He has control over international, if you want to call it international commerce, things like that, number one. Number two, I think the crisis that we have, if you want to call it constitutional, is that many of us in our country, we don't realize and understand that they are three, like Tyrone said, co-equal. I say, if you want to call it breaking the law, okay, I've said that before and other things. I think go ahead and ship them to where they belong. They came here illegally. If the justices now, thanks to Mr. Roberts, if they want to be part of the activism and creating law out of whole cloth, like Tyrone said, let them do it. But I'm still going to do this. They are co-equal. I want to see this crisis come to a head. I do. I want President Trump to keep shipping them, put them on military planes and ship them over there. I don't care. Get them off there legally. Number one, they're here illegally, and certainly the most violent ones. And let me tell you about another book that I'm reading. I don't know if y'all can see this. This is by Neil Gorsuch, one of our current justices. He wrote this book. I love it. It's called Overruled. And it's basically talking about we have too much law. Now, this is a current Supreme Court justice talking about the number or however many laws we have. And they're on the books and they can be used at whim and will. And they don't make sense, and how burdensome they are to our country and to many American lives, that it never was intended to be that way. So,
Agreed.
My bottom line for me, President Trump, I say, if you ask me, put them on C-15s or whatever those planes, I forget the number. Put them on those cargo planes, ship them over to wherever they need to go, El Salvador, Venezuela, and let the Supreme Court justices battle it out. If they want to send you a letter of contempt, okay, you'll meet them on the steps of the Supreme Court on Monday morning or next week, whatever. They could have very well said, you know what? Pass a judgment. The district courts don't have a jurisdiction. We are taking the jurisdiction as the Supreme Court because this is involving a current, important, expedient, executive matter. They could have very well done that and given their decision or whatever. Just stop all this BS. But I say, President Trump, round them up, put them on them planes and ship them out. Let not Alito and Thomas, but Roberts and all the rest of them, him and Hall, and then they'll meet you on the court steps next week.
All right. We have a super chatter here, folks. Thank you all so much. We certainly appreciate you. Let's see here. We have Colin with the $10 super chat. Says, I'm late also, but love your show. Fantastic panel. God bless. Thank you, Colin. Thank you so much. Yeah, Justice Alito also criticized the court for not hearing directly from the government, but he left out that the ACLU urged the Trump administration to promise, as it had in the other court case, not to deport Venezuelans without due process. Now, in Texas, however, the DOJ refused to make that promise for anyone beyond the two named plaintiffs, even though more deportation seemed imminent. So that's why the Supreme Court majority intervened. After the administration had recently deported 137 Venezuelans without due process, a move the court later ruled against, the justices feared a repeat. So rather than clearly commit to following the court's earlier ruling, the Trump administration appeared to be sidestepping that narrow interpretation. So I want to know, what is actually supposed to occur when they move to deport these illegals? Because what is the due process that the court is saying they must have?
And that's going to be the question. That's the question. Because right now, as far as we know, that due process means that they can go before an immigration judge, which many of them, I don't know how many, have done that, right? But the very fact that they are here illegally, okay, if that's it, but that's not what the ACLU wants. That's not what the left wants. They want to be held up in court after court case after court case forever and a day. They want to stretch out this definition of due process for illegals, no less. That's what they want. So that way they'll have President Trump sort of in this, I guess, gray area, if you will. But we know what they want. They don't want these people to go, number one, because this is part of their financial grift bag, if you will.
Well, most of these people, when you think of the program that brought them in, I know you guys heard about Joe Biden and that app, and all they had to do was go into the app. Well, these are the app people. They come from Cuba, Haiti, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, right? These were the 4 countries that they allowed countless people to come in. As long as you clack on the app, you are fine. So they've never really been in front of a judge, right? All they did was sign in the app. And what the Trump administration is saying is signing in an app is not good enough. You got to go, especially if you're a criminal, especially if you belong to this quote unquote terrorist organization. And he has very good legal standing for that. That app, we've been doing immigration physicals in our practice for maybe 8 or 9 years. That app was trash. Fill in your name, tell me whereabouts you might stay. And I can tell you, none of those people live at the addresses that they put on in the app. So once the app was closed, and I know you guys saw videos on YouTube about this, you saw people crying who never made it across. Once the app shut down, the one woman was, she's screaming and hollering, I'm never going to make it. And she's right. Because that app was a get out of jail free card, and it is closed. So what do we do with the million or so people who came in with that app? Especially here in Maryland, we have a very large population of Haitian people now.
But my question is, so if I'm illegal and I'm picked up by the police for doing a crime, the next step is not me on a plane. I think there's a due process step that is supposed to happen in order for me to be put on the plane. And so
an immigration judge, maybe.
Maybe. So I think the court is habeas. I think it's habeas corpus. I think the court is saying that step must be done on all of these illegals before they can be put on planes.
I'd push back on that. Barack Obama put out 3 million people, and they did not all see a judge. He put them out. There wasn't a peep made. The Supremes had nothing to say. We're going to stand on policy. If the Supreme Court wants to go activist and make new law, this is that moment. But the Trump administration is standing on the law that exists now. So they're going to tell the Supremes, tell us that this law doesn't work, because here it is in the book, and it's black letter law. We're not leaning into our own understanding. It's exactly what the page says. It's a terrorist organization now. He has the right to do that.
Let's clear up something real quick, Nicole, what you said. first of all, the Supreme Court should not be making law.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's Congress's
we
job.
have a two-body legislature that's supposed to do that. And this is why I have continuously said our Congress is mainly at fault, because for decades, these laws have been basically unenforced or not even existent. Congress today, while they are lollygagging on so many breaks and maybe voting themselves raises and things like that, they could today, with the majority of the House and the Senate and President Trump in the White House, they could make a law and make it effective, 30, 60 days from now, maybe even a week, make it effective. And that will null and void all of this stuff. And President Trump could act under the current law.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's an excellent point. And Congress, both parties do this thing where they keep issues going so that they can say, oh, well, you got to vote for us because we'll do gun control, right? How many times have the Democrats had everything and did nothing but talk about gun control or reparations or the Voting Rights Act? It's just meant to keep voters on a treadmill, continue to vote for us. We, as conservatives and as Republicans, need to say to the House in particular and the Senate, look, the jig is up, okay? We know the game. It's been played far too long now. Participate with this president, okay? See, they're okay with this thing flipping back and forth, all right? Because they still get to keep everything they've got, except for, okay, I'm no longer committee chair. So what? I'm ranking member now, all right? I still have perks, okay? This is how these craven people look at it. So we need to pressure the Republicans in Congress and say, look, I'm going to, wax Shelley for a minute and also say something my grandmother used to say, shit, or get off the pot.
Right. Yeah, well, speaking of our Congress people, that moves us to Nancy Mace. So a viral video involving Nancy Mace confronting a man in a supermarket hit the internet within the last several days. Before we get into this, I do want to acknowledge our super chatters. David Nurse with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you. Dallas says, end of the day, Obama is still deporter in chief. Right on, Dallas. Yoni, drop that mic, Shelly E.
First of all, I love her merch. Can we see her again? She's got her merch on.
Oh, who?
Yanni.
Oh, yes. Oh, Yanni. Yes.
Ooh.
That is her. Yes.
Okay, Queen, come through.
Yes, and she looks so pretty.
Yes. She looks great.
Yes, she did. Put it up again one more time. Okay, yes.
Yes.
You see how she hooked it up with a jacket?
I like the way she styled it. I like the way she styled it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Yes, Yanni, she sent in her photo of herself wearing the merch, and folks, that when I saw that made me smile so bright because she looks so good.
Me too.
And this is what we want. Like the shirts are cute, you can make it, dress it up or dress it down. Here it is, folks. If you get your merch there at www.popandpoliticslive.com. We have the shirts. If you want to, it's a great way to send a message to someone. We have mugs, we have the hoodies, all types of things. Check it out right there. And you always do, again, www.popandpoliticslive.com/shop. All right. Yes, indeed. And show the picture of Yanni again real quick. I said, look at this woman. She looks good.
Yes,
she did. And she got the mug. See, you guys, the mug, not black, not white, American. I love it. I love it.
Thank you, Yanni.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yanni. Thank you so much. The best model. Good job.
Yes, she is. And folks, if you want to show you off your merch, once you get it, send us a photo via email and we will shout you out on the show. All right. So let's see here. So again, speaking of women or Congress people, check out this clip of Nancy Mace.
I do them every year. every year.
You want to keep
Are
going?
you do any more this
you want
year?
to keep going and
Are you
keep
gonna do
harassing
this?
me?
I'm asking if
You
you're
could
gonna
have
have any more
gone
town
to a
halls this
dozen
year.
town halls last year.
I asked if you're doing
We-
any more this year. It was one simple question.
Yeah.
Are you doing a town
I've
hall
already
this year?
done one. I'll do
Are
plenty
you doing
more.
any more this year? It was a simple question.
You're always invited.
Okay, sweet. Well, look
And
out
by
for
the
an
way,
actual invitation.
I voted for gay marriage twice.
What does that have to do
so
with me?
I'm just saying, it has to everything to do with you.
Do you think everything about me has to do with gay marriage?
I do,
That's
absolutely.
your first stance when you
Yep.
speak with me?
Absolutely.
There's no other humane
If you want to get in my
conversation you
face
can
about
have
town
me?
halls, you should have shown
There's
up to
no
one
other
last
humane
year.
thing you can talk about me just saying, oh, I support gay marriage.
Yeah,
That's the
because
only
you're
thing
getting
you
in
have
my
to
face
say.
about a town hall. You
All I
could have
just asked
gone
you one
last year.
simple question from right
Would you
over
like
here
me?
is if you have any plans to have more town halls this year.
I have town
That was
halls
one
every year.
question.
I have over a dozen
Okay.
every year.
Great. That was my entire question. You didn't have to go
Yeah,
into the spiel about
you could
everything
have. You could have come to any of them last year.
Okay. And I'm
I had
asking you
over a
about this year, not
dozen.
2024. But
Where were you the year before that, or the year before that?
It was a simple
Oh,
question. I
because
asked
you know
if
what?
have
Because
any
you
more that
people
you're
on the
going to
left
this
are
year or not.
crazy.
So I'm
You're
on the left.
absolutely fucking crazy.
I'm absolutely fucking
You are,
crazy.
and get out of my face.
You're insane.
Goodbye.
You're insane.
Fuck you.
You're gonna fuck me. You're
Yep,
gonna be voted
bye.
out so fast this year. I
I'm
can't
not.
wait for you to fucking
I'm
go
not.
into
I
this
won by
dirt.
so much.
You're a disgrace to this state. That's what you are. You're a disgrace. I asked you a simple question, and you just to go on this tirade and tell me "fuck you."
Yeah, fuck you.
Disgusting.
Get out of my face.
Fuck you. How about
Get out of my
that?
face.
You're a nasty
Try it again.
bitch.
What's your
You're a
name?
nasty bitch.
What's your
You're a
name?
nasty bitch. That's
What's
my
your name?
You say "fuck me"?
Yep, I
That's
sure
the
did.
First thing you're gonna say to me is "fuck me" for asking
Absolutely.
you a question.
Get the fuck out of my face.
Fuck you.
Now.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. You couldn't take me on, baby. Stay the fuck away from me.
All right. So before we dig in, I do want to say again, she's a perfect example of a woman in politics who wears dresses. She wears skirts, she wears dresses, she wears pants too, but she wears both. You know, this is what I'm talking about. But back to that exchange. Did she go too far? Shelley, what are your thoughts?
100% totally yes. Wearing a dress or pants. She went too far. I thought that was, I mean, I watched the whole thing. I watched it twice. I thought maybe it was some more, at least from the start. I didn't see anything additionally, in addition to that. But I think she went too far. I mean, she can't, he did. He asked her when was the next town hall. She's berating him for what, last year or the year before. She said the man, you know, she voted on gay marriage. I'm like him. What the hell does that have to do with anything? I mean, she went too far. Republican or not, she went too far. Woman or not, she went too far. Dress or not, she went too far.
Nicole, what are your thoughts? Did she go too far, or was she right? Was her aggressive reaction warranted?
You know, I think two things. One, I think toward the end, things kind of spiraled out of control. But, you know, she gets to be a private person. You know, she's a whole American citizen, and she gets to go to Target and shop for lotion, just like all the rest of us get to go to Target and shop for lotion. If someone comes up to you, KJ, you out having a nice dinner with your family, and says, "Oh, aren't you KJ from Poppin' Politics?" And you say, "Oh yeah, you know, nice to meet you." And then they pull up a chair and they want to kind of continue the conversation. You know, that show you did last Saturday, that's not, you can see where you would get a little irritated, but I don't think that you would go to the point where you're telling him F you, and just because he got on these little tiny shorts. I mean, he got on his full hoochie daddy shorts and a wedding ring. So it's not that far of a jump. But, you know, he's got his hoochie daddy shorts on, and he's kind of like, when's the next town hall? And this and that. And she's clearly perturbed. But there's no reason to be dropping F-bombs on there. I think at some point decorum should kick in. She could have walked away. She didn't have to record the incident. He could have walked away. These are two adults behaving badly in the store, especially when it got to the end. And if there were a fight, you know, my money's on Nancy, the former Marine, instead of, you know, hoochie daddy. I don't think he could take her. I'm just going to be honest with you.
All right. So Tyrone, you got to be the tiebreaker here. Did you think she went too far, or she was she was right on?
She went way too far. And I understand what you're saying about being a private person, but you're not private in Target, okay? Especially when you are a United States representative. Now, he also recorded the interaction from the start. All right? And he what he said was, when do you plan on holding a real town hall? Okay, but he said, "Hello, Nancy, when do you plan on holding a real town hall? Now, some could say the real part was a little bit of snark, but okay, Nancy Mace, you're not immune from that. All right. And what she should have done was said, oh, hey, listen, what's your name? All right, look, if you want to, if you give me your email address, I can send you the schedule of all the town halls, if you like. Or if you would prefer, you can go on my website, and we got it listed right there. You can call the office and come on out. We welcome you. All right. Boom. Done. Okay. That would have sufficed to put her in the right. Now, if he chose to continue and ratchet it up, then okay. She did the right thing. And now she is being harassed because she addressed that first issue. But he wasn't harassing. He was standing, 5 feet away from her. He wasn't being aggressive. Okay. Yeah. If he's guilty of anything, then the fashion police should speak to him about it. But other than that, I don't see any issue with the way he approached her. She went ballistic for no reason at all.
She has a history of being assaulted, even as a congressperson of being assaulted. So her guard is always up. Did she behave badly? Absolutely. I think the beginning of it was probably just two people like, okay, it's whatever, leave me alone. But when they got to the F-bombs and you're a bitch and he's a bitch and everybody's a bitch, that's doing too much. That's just doing way, way too much.
But to be honest,
if she's got a history of being assaulted, that's definitely regrettable. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you meet somebody who you've never seen before, that person is not guilty of anything. For you to cast that onto someone who is not he stayed well away from her personal space. I think that's a little egregious. And I gotta say, I've never seen Jasmine Crockett treat a constituent that way.
I've never seen her treat a constituent.
I've never seen her do that.
Well,
so if we're going to call one out for their behavior, we got to call them all.
He didn't call her a bitch. He didn't call her a bitch until the end, after she dropped all the F-bombs and said all of that. When he walked away, he did say, you're a fucking bitch or whatever. But she was the aggressor. This
is what I was going to say. To me, we're seeing this more and more. Our elected officials, political leaders, from Jasmine Crockett to Nancy Mace, it's all over the board. They just act without class and classless. Right. Yeah. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because social media is driving clicks for this type of this acting or this type of aggression. But we are seeing it more and more. And it seems like we're seeing it more from the women. I don't recall seeing men act out like this as much as we're seeing it from the women. I agree. I thought she was way out of line. I thought she was, way out of line.
I think social media is a part of it that, particularly if talking about Congress, senators, things like that, I think social media is a big part of it. But I also think many of these jokers, they don't have any, they should, but they don't have anything substantive to do. They are wasting our money and our time wanting to be popular, wanting to be liked, and they spend a good amount of time campaigning all the time, right? So to the point that, again, when they're in session, we get overburdened, overtaxed, all kinds of stuff that really are not things that are not beneficial to Americans. So then they got a lot of time to do crap like this, and we still get the crap in our faces. So they have too much time doing nothing, and we are paying them for it.
Listen, there used to be a time when being censured was an important thing. Like that was probably the most horrible thing that could happen to you as a politician. Now they wear that thing like a badge of honor. They're into it. They love it. Oh, well, I was censored. It makes me, quote unquote, a badass. And then you see these women, and KJ, I think you hit the nail right on the head. This is for clicks, because a man calling somebody a bitch, if it's a woman, that might get some clicks. But two men calling each other bitches is not going to get any clicks. Right. But Nancy Mace, the hothead, calling Hoochie Daddy dirty names, clickbait. I mean, here we are talking about it, right? Here we are talking about. We're not talking about Kristi Noem's pocketbook getting stolen while she was out eating dinner in Washington, D.C., because her response was, now I got to get a whole nother, real ID. I mean, she's feeling like every other American who's ever been, a victim of senseless crime, right? This is the thing that we're talking about because Nancy Mace behaved poorly.
Right. And look, Nicole, KJ, Shelly, y'all are headed toward 1 million subscribers. So Nicole, you better be prepared to be approached at, well, I ain't gonna say Target, Neiman Marcus or wherever it is you shop.
I've been banned from Target.
I was actually approached on Easter Sunday at church. Several people, we had a lot of extra people at church as we generally do on Easter, and people said, "Hey, you popping politics?" I was like, "Yeah." So I don't mind people approaching me. Really, honestly, I don't.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'll say, "Hey, how you doing?" Whatever. It's fine. But speaking of getting down to the actual nitty gritty of what's, the things happening in community and politics, we got to talk about this Baltimore City issue. Folks, when we say Democrats are not fiscally responsible, you're not going to believe this. So Baltimore City is paid $12 million to a company for speed cameras and did not get anywhere near that in return in fees. Take a look at this. This is clip 6.
Tonight, one Baltimore City Council member says the city is missing out on millions of dollars in speed camera fines, with a portion of that money going to the company operating those cameras.
In fact, the councilman says it's time to put the brakes on the program that's paid one vendor $12 million to operate 2 speed cameras. For the past 3 years, speeding motorists on I-83 have been greeted by 2 of the city's newest speed cameras. But the number of citations the program has generated is only half the amount the city first projected. And the cost of operating the program is now under the microscope.
The entire speed camera program is laced with flaws.
This week, City Councilman Yitzi Schleifer turned to social media and asked, should we still have these cameras with this vendor on 83? According to Schleifer, the city paid the out-of-state vendor more than $12 million to operate the 2 cameras in the first 2 years of the program. The city, on the other hand, netted just $1.5 million.
We were told with regard to the 83 cameras that it was going to lead to improvements on 83, yet after issuing over $20 million worth of citations, the city has only netted about $1 million from the program. The rest of that money has gone uncollected or to the vendor.
That is just not a logical way of operating 2 cameras on I-83.
When the city renewed the vendor's contract last year, former City Council President Nick Mosby questioned why the city couldn't operate the program itself and save millions of dollars.
Well, we have able-bodied men and women who can do these jobs. Why we take that and we give it to a vendor that is not even a city resident.
Money is nice, but keeping people from running into each other on 83 is really the point.
In fact, the city's Department of Transportation says crashes have been reduced 72% since the cameras have been posted on this highway, but Schleifer isn't convinced.
While you see the reduction of tickets, that does not mean a reduction of speed.
Wow. So once again, Baltimore is burning taxpayer dollars like it's monopoly money. This time, $12 million handed over to Speed Camera Company. And what do residents have to show for it? Not safer streets, not better traffic enforcement, and definitely not a return on investment. But they don't care because it's not their money. Shelly, what do you think of this?
I'm going to say follow the money. I think the company is called American Traffic Solutions, at least from what I could find out. I want to know who's on their board. I want to know how their board members maybe affiliate or cohort with Brandon Scott and maybe some other people on the Baltimore City Council. Not only that, when Nick Mosby was the president of the city council, and even maybe the current city council, I know that the board it's a 5-member, and 3 of them, including the mayor, or the other 2 are appointed by the mayor. See, this is all about quid pro quo, nepotism. You know, you scratch my back, I'm gonna scratch yours. This has nothing to do with the taxpayer or being stewards of taxpayer money. It's all about how can I give you something, and then in return, I'm going to get to raise my status or my position somewhere down the line. This is another screw you to Baltimoreans and many of the motorists, not just Baltimoreans, the motorists who ride up and down the highways through Baltimore.
Agreed.
Yeah. Tyrone, I want to get, so to me, it's a big issue about fiscal management. They spent $12 million on these cameras, and they only have gotten, I think they said about 5 in the fees. So they are not getting a good rate of return on it. They spent all of our taxpayer money, and they're not getting the benefit of it. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, wait a minute. Weren't we told that the red light cameras and the speed cameras were about safety, right? It was all about safety. And it seems like things have gotten safer. They said 72% fewer accidents. Sounds pretty safe to me. So what's the problem, right? It's a lot safer. The city is upset because they're not pulling in revenue. But that's not what we were told this was about. We weren't told it was about the city making money.
Good
In
point.
fact, Sheila Dixon told us the exact opposite. She said, this is not about, this. When they first started putting these cameras in, they said, oh, this is not about money. This is about safety. So the city's not making money.
Good point.
And look.
No, it's not a good point. It's 1 minute not to make money. You lost money. We lost money.
But it's a good point in that the argument was never about making money. It was about safety. So if the safety was the criteria and the measuring stick, then it's down 72%. That's what I'm saying.
Nicole, is this what? So you mean that this is worth $12 million?
Of course not. But this is why Shelley is 100% right. Who's on that board? How did this board get that particular contract? Because we've got speed cameras, red light cameras all across the state. Prince George's County makes a mint. I mean, an absolute mint. Mm-hmm. They're so good at their cameras. They got them on little carts and they just, drag them up to a next situation. Mm-hmm. I kid you not. On one 10-mile straightaway to get to the major highway, there are four portable cameras. 4. And it's not for safety. I mean, that's what they said, but this is a money-making situation. But I have never seen those council people so excited about not making money. There's something amiss. There's something wrong with that. You get me a group of 5 black men. Let's do this. We can get just the guys on camera and say, okay, you guys all kick in $1 million. Now we're going to lose all of it, almost all of it. But you're going to be safe and your show is going to be popular. First of all, we got to peel Gimpy off the ceiling. Reason and Logic going to lose it. And Bling over here going to be asking some tough questions. CT probably shoot us all. You know what I mean? At some point, someone's going to have to look at this and say, there's something wrong here. Because they're way too comfortable losing that amount of money. Tells me that there's something going on in the background. I think Shelley's right. Somebody's got to escalate out of it. Somebody's house got paid off. Yeah. Somebody got a pool. Follow the money. Follow the money.
David Nurse says, tax with the $2 super chat says, taxpayers paid for Collins to go to El Salvador. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's right. More and more of them went to El Salvador now. Not just Van Hollen. I think they have like 5 other Congress people have gone on to El Salvador.
Yeah,
this is the April destination right now.
El Salvador. Safe seats.
We lost Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey. They're going to wind up in El Salvador. That's what it is. The circus down there.
They're not going to like El Salvador. They'll lock them up down there. They ain't got no problems putting the cuffs on you.
Let me go back real quick. Look, fundamentally, you wanted fewer accidents. You got that. Okay. And let's do the liberal thing. Y'all complaining about it now, but what's one human life worth? $12 million? You can't put a price. Every time they're about to send somebody to the electric chair, life becomes valuable. Okay. So, hey, but it's Democrats managing money. Never works. Mm-hmm. Never works. They could have spent less on a few more police officers riding up down 83 all day. Okay. People see the car. But look, government has turned into a giant revenue vacuum, okay? They just want to get the citizen. That's why they took the lights off of the top of the police cruisers, because they want to get you, okay? They're not concerned with your safety. That's why they make these, police vehicles so stealth-like, all right? They're even driving It was a time where police weren't seen in foreign vehicles, but now the game is to confuse you. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So anytime this government, any aspect of it, loses money, okay, from something dumb that they did and they get shown out for it, I'm willing to take the L if Brandon Scott looks stupid.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for us tonight, folks. Again, if you are just entering the show, please hit that like button. It really helps to get our video in front of more people and to get it out to people so they can, comment and see it. And it really helps the channel. So please, again, subscribe. We are on our road to 1 million subscribers. That is the goal. Yes, and we need you all. You all have helped us get to where we are thus far, and we need your help to get the rest of the way. So again, we want to hit 1 million subscribers. We are on our way, so please hit that subscribe button. And we will see you again on Wednesday. We will be back on Wednesday, counting down all of the latest and hot topics in politics from a conservative perspective. So we look forward to seeing you. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.